That's all my contact information if you guys find this interesting and want to try some of this out. I'm going to be talking about Burp Suite. The format that I kind of want to go with today is kind of reflected in this meme here. She's asking her dad a question. He's like, "You just asked me a question," and then she doesn't get it, and then all of a sudden, trolls. So anyway, interrupt me. I know you guys are going to probably. Oh, thanks. So I know that you're probably going to forget the question if we wait to the end. So just go ahead and interrupt me if you have something that you find interesting or comment or something like that, and we can have a discussion there. So that's me. We said I work for the federal government as a communication analyst. I just want to make a disclosure. I did not use any of their resources. This is all my own research. Has nothing to do with work. All fun stuff on the side. Previously, I've done work for the Navy. I did CND, working with NIST stuff. I also did some pen testing for the Air Force. Basically took an app, a web app, and broke the NIST stuff down and developed use cases and ways to test it so that we could see if it could get approved on the product list. I also worked for the CISO of UNC Charlotte for about 6 months, finding all kinds of vulnerabilities and basically having a whole playground there. And I've also previously done years of consulting with small businesses and helping them understand security, get ideas for how they can mitigate threats and stuff like that. Master's from UNC Charlotte. There's the information for 49th Security Division if you guys are interested or down there. I've done ICTS and both offense and defense. I like first-person shooters. Live in DC. It's my girlfriend there. And I like traveling to cons. And this is CarolinaCon Sweater Vest. Zach Mayo, who's not here right now. But shout out to him. Anyways, so let's get to Burp. That's enough about me. Let's go ahead and talk about the fun stuff that you really actually came here for. All right, so what I want to talk about is how to download and get Burp set up. There's a few things. It's really basically Java, so not too hard. I also use Foxy Proxy in order to get it to work, so I'm going to kind of give a little bit information about that. And then I'm going to go through the proxy tab and intercepting and explain the concept of how Burp works. I'm going to talk about how it logs things and keeps history of what you're doing, so as you're going through a pen test, you can go back and look at what you did, or maybe stop and poke something that you find a little more interesting. And then I'll also touch on the spider, which I personally don't find very useful. I like to poke things and see what happens, and then modify things from there instead of letting the app just blast and have the IDS or WAF or whatever throw up. So there's the repeater, which allows you to replay packets. There's the intruder, which does some of the same stuff. Then it also has a decoder and a comparer, which allows you to look at things to see if they're changed, as well as a quick and dirty, let's take this ASCII and convert it hex, Unicode, switch it around, see exactly what the app is actually doing. And then I'm going to also talk in the demo about how I have a network layout, and I did a network scan and found some things that were vulnerable on my network, and then I'm going to give an exploit example. So this is basically how Burp works. For those of you that don't know or just understand the basic corporate proxy, basically without a proxy you just go straight to the internet. With a proxy and Burp, you basically are redirecting your stuff to Burp. It stops it, allows you to modify the packet, and then replay it to the internet and do all kinds of fun things that you wouldn't be able to do necessarily with just modifying code in the browser. So where do you get Burp? It's not burp.com, it's portswigger.net. So be mindful of that. The current version they're on is 1.505. They just came out with a release just after ShmooCon or during, I'm not sure. They have a free and pro version. The pro version has some additional features, as you can kind of see here. It has the ability to save and restore your sessions. So if you go back home and then you need to go back to the pen test, they've got things that you can do that. It also has, it doesn't throttle you when you're doing some of the sequencers. So basically, they're trying to build a business model, but also give it away for free. Really, Windows, you can just get Java, and then you run the burp.jar file. Linux, you just need to install the default.jre. It works fine. And then Mac, you just get the updates for Java, and you're able to run and go. So, getting everything ready for Burp proxy, you want to use Foxy Proxy. So get foxyproxy.org. You basically go to the toolbars and do add-on, and then you'll have this nice little menu here where you can switch from just not having a proxy to actually having a proxy and being able to go through Burp. This helps a lot when you're actually going to Gmail and you're getting a whole bunch of stuff, but then you want to switch to Burp and don't have all the Ajax, so you can switch back and forth, and you don't have to go through all options and setting up Socks proxy and stuff like that. So I don't know what happened there. Blank slide. Okay, so once you have Foxy Proxy and you've set up an actual proxy with that, you'll want to go into Burp. So basically, you'll go to Proxy and then Options, and the default's 8080. I prefer not to use that because I might be running Tomcat, and so sometimes it'll conflict. So one that I use is just 2200. It's not going to be used by a lot of applications. And so then I'll put that in, and then you can basically have everything going through Foxy Proxy and then to Burp. So here's what an intercept looks like. When you first tell Firefox to go through Burp, it's going to look like this. It's going to have a whole bunch of information. It's going to have the get host, and the intercept is going to be most likely on. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're not getting stuff, there's an alerts tab over on the right-hand side, and that can give you some information about what's going on, and what, if you're doing something wrong, it'll try and help you, fix it. So as you're browsing the internet or the web app, you're going to start getting things that fill up in the history. So as you can see here, I was browsing my network access unit, and I see all the jQuery stuff that was going on. I see that I was going to CGI bin, make CGI Pro, which is the front end app, and then I can click on each one of these and see what's going on. And then I have some different tabs that we'll talk about in a minute, as well as I can right click and I can send things to the intruder, repeater, sequencer, or comparer, and then manipulate them there and then replay them and get some interesting results. There's also another thing that's called the target, and it builds more of a site map. So it has the hierarchy of the different sites that you've been going to. So for example, I went to Google Play here, and then I went to Google. And so it breaks all those out so you can kind of see what's going on. And then here it has the different pages and then folders based on places that you went. So it's grouped all the JavaScript out. It's CGI bin has its stuff broken out there, and so it works really well for seeing that kind of aspect. Whereas the history is just a long list. Yes. Go for it. Sure thing. Not anymore. But with that said, I did get another account hacked the other day, so I don't know if no. Well, then you write really fast. So this is the spider. As you can see, it has a lot of regex that you can do in order to kind of like direct it, which direction you want to go as far as what links. One thing that I recommend doing if you're going to go with a spider is make sure that you don't have it hit the logout. So I've had problems where I've done pen tests and I'll be running through and I'm like, I'm not getting a lot of stuff. And it's because it basically goes through the very first part of the page, it hits a few links, and then it hits logout. And then once it does that, I'm out of the app and things don't work. So you can use some of the regex in order to say, don't hit the logout button, just drill through the app regularly. So let's see. So right click. So this is the Burp here. And remember how I have the drop down and it says right click and send to repeater? So you're going to get basically this kind of screen. And it has two areas. So it's got the raw parameters, headers, and hex, which is the stuff that you send. And then it also has the response, which is what's coming back. So you can actually just build the response, or build the request, hit go, and then you'll get these responses back, and then you can play around and see with the raw, headers, hex, what you're getting back and actually what's going on. And you don't have to, go back to history and do a lot of monkeying around. So what I've done here is I've basically broken out the different tabs so that we can kind of talk about them and what they do. So one of the things, and I'll show this a little bit later in the demo, was I hit the parameters so that I could see all the different things that the GET request was actually sending to it. So I didn't have to look at the raw and try and figure out what was going on. So what I saw was when I clicked a different link for the different folders on my network access storage unit for this particular app, that it was sending a GET request for the actual location. So what I did was I was like, well, if I have the public folder, can't I change that to another folder that maybe I really never should be in it? So as you can see here, I changed it to /, I hit go, and then I was able to get a rendering of the response, and now we've got, instead of public folder, we've got Etsy, home, bin, and places that really I should never be looking at on a network access unit, network access storage unit. You can also look at raw. So if there's things that you're missing with the render, this is actually the raw text that you're getting back. Then you also have headers, so you can look at is it doing a GET or a post. And let me just say here, for those of you that might have used tamper data, I personally prefer Burp because it does a lot better job of doing posts. I haven't really gotten posts working very well with tamper data. I'm not even sure if it's conceivably possible. So that's a real big selling point for Burp, is you can do a lot of post requests and do that. So this is hex. So if you're trying to actually find out what the characters are, this is helpful for doing that. And then you have your raw HTML, which it kind of does a really nice job of colorizing it for you, for those of us that stay up late and start to get blurry-eyed. And then there's a little more about the render. You can kind of see a few more folders that are going on there. So, see, what was that? All right. So this is Burp Intruder. One of the cool things that you can do with this is actually brute forcing. And so it has a section of basically attacks where you send it the request, then it parses out the different variables, and you can pick an attack to do on the site. So for this example, we have a spider, so we'd only want to do one variable. And then what you would do is you would put a word list to it and hit go. Now the free version is going to throttle it, so it's not going to go super fast. And then it'll go through your word list and try each one of these, giving you the request number, what it was actually doing, the status that it came back with, and if it had any errors, and then as well as the length and any kind of timeout or what exactly was going on. So in this example here, I created just a simple PHP file and then basically had it as password1. So I ran it through here, and as you can see, most of the lengths are 360, 360, 360, 360, but on password1, the length is different. So I'm getting 200 on all of them. So I'm not getting like a 404 or 403. It's the web site is basically actually giving me a proper response, saying, hey, you couldn't get in. But for this one, it gave a different response, and it's a different size, and we can see that it's success. So we want to go look and see what's going on there. So here's the decoder. Just briefly, it has different boxes here, and as you're building things or doing different different sets of code and packets, it'll build new ones as you go. So you can put in examples, and then for this one I did just decode as a hex and hex, yeah. So yeah, and then basically I would have other ones that would come down the line as well. The compare is basically taking different things and then seeing if there's a different length or if there's any differences in them, and it can help you see that. This is helpful for when you're actually clicking on links and when you want to go back and see, okay, was this site changed as I was going through it? Maybe there was something a little bit different that I didn't pick up on, but it was a lot similar. So those are kind of helpful. The other thing too is they have an extender, which is a new API that you can get, and basically you can write your own code for Burp suite now. So it's trying to get a whole library and different apps that would work with Burp so that you can do a lot more things with it. And those are the kind of things that'll allow you, it's got a really long list of yeah, go for it. My understanding is yes, you can do that. I honestly, I'll be perfectly honest, I have not actually played with this. Yes? I'm sorry? In most cases, but I believe you can also write other code as well. Okay, yeah, I knew I'd seen, and doesn't it have Perl as well? Okay, I thought so. I might be wrong on that, but thank you for the contribution. All right, so demo time. All right, so this is what I've had on my network. I got it in college, and we were just wanting to stream movies to our Xbox in the living room and stuff. Cheap, $100. Purchased in 2010. Obviously, you can see it doesn't get really good stars, so that might tell you something. So this is kind of a layout of the network that I had at the time when I was doing this. So you've got our DDWRT router, you've got a media server, laptops, all this. What I did for IDS is basically let me go ahead and, did I not include that? Yeah, let me skip here and I'll go back. I'm sorry. So basically what I have is I have a script that runs, and I have this out on the GitHub if you guys want to try it. It basically just runs every 30 minutes and scans the network for different ports and anything that it has seen new. So basically, like if my roommate now was to go ahead and plug a new laptop in, I get an email with what ports are open, MAC address, what operating system is running. And so I had this running, and I noticed that the NAS had quite a few ports that I might want to check out. So, sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but so I started looking around when I saw those ports, and I noticed that the CVE for this NAS has quite a few vulnerabilities. However, they don't really explain it here, what's actually going on. So I was like, well, I guess I'll go ahead and poke it myself and see what happens. I did. What's that? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, is that like there is no spoon or something like that? Anyways, so I got excited and started poking, but then I realized that somebody had already kind of figured out. So simple disclaimer, I did not find this vulnerability on the NAS. That's what I want to say. I expanded on it from the directory traversal exploit to be able to make a bash backdoor using CGI. I was also able to get a reverse shell, and then I was also able to install software on the box so that we could be able to take it over and stay persistent on it. So I went ahead and talked to that. So the way I did it was I basically sent it to the repeater. Like I said, I modified the public folder to / so I could get into the root. And then I went in and uploaded a bash file into public, and then basically I moved that into CGI bin. So here is the content of the first version of the file that I uploaded. So you know, it's basically just a bin/sh content plain text. Make an echo. I was seeing if GCC was on the box, and then I had to do some escaping for the 20%. For because they had spaces. And then once I got that up there, I was able to do ls. I saw that I was running as root, which is bad. And then I could pretty much run any command from that script because it was sitting in the CGI bin. I've updated it a little bit. I got some help from one of our alum at UNCC. So we did error checking so that when you run commands, you can actually do error checking. And then we also modified the query string so that it would actually do things more than 20%. I was, kind of in a, oh my gosh, let's see if we can, just get something. So this is a little bit better, and I will be putting this up on GitHub later. So getting an actual shell, because that's not really a shell. It is persistent, but it doesn't do everything. I really wanted netcat on there, so I was having trouble getting that on there because there's only like 3 megs left, and I was writing all kinds of things on there, and it was filling up and then not letting me run anything anymore. So I had to go into the web interface, delete files, and break it down. So what we did was we went and got netcat, we broke it open, and then got the the ARM version and uploaded it, and then we ran the netcat from the back door that I had on there, connected, and we're able to get a shell, but it wasn't a pseudo shell, so we couldn't really install anything. So then we started looking around, and we changed etc initd because we were trying to get telnet working. So we got rid of the auth for telnet and restarted the server. But the problem with that was we couldn't log in. For some reason, we just would put in the password and it just wouldn't work. So then we appended 4446 and restarted it, and then told it to use temp.foo and then bash and tag-l, which allowed us to log in to telnet without a password. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of show what I've got actually running here. So this is the back door right here. So who am I? It's going to be really slow now. Okay, ls. We've got so it'll hang there, and I'll come over here and then do turn this off. It's not working. Oh, my bad. Guess the demo is not. Yeah. all week? Let's try this here. Oh, my bad. Dang it. All right, well. So maybe I won't show the netcap session. Let's try the other one, where we started it. Ooh, that's weird. There we go. All right, so obviously I can't show the netcat session where we did the intermediary step, but this is like a full shell now. Got root. You can see it's an ARM device. You can see the users that are on the system. No, that's my roommate. So, yeah. Yeah. So it's, I mean, pretty much owned now, and now I can ping other things on the network. I could potentially get Nmap on there and then pivot from that to another device. So, and what's crazy about this is I was like, well, surely nobody uses these anymore, right? So I just, I didn't really do any Shodan or anything like that, but it's kind of still a problem. I mean, not that one there, because that one's someone's internal, but you see I clicked on that link and it does work and has the same version, and you've got quite a few to work with there. So potentially I could get in and get all their whatever they're hosting on there. I'm not even going to really talk about what's there. So yeah, but yeah, so I mean, it is slightly still relevant. I mean, there's 5 out on Google. There's probably more. One of the things that I did think about doing was the device has a kind of like dying DNS service. I'm like running really fast sometimes. It's probably because I talk fast when I actually present. So yeah, going here. Oh, whoops, I was right there. So it has a dying DNS service, kind of, where you can actually go through Komodo, which I'm not sure how secure they are anymore because they got hacked. But you can set this to enable, and then they'll let you pick a name. So one thing that I was thinking about doing was, their dying DNS is going to have certain URLs, so you could search for those on the internet and find people's NASs that are sitting out there using this service and find more than just the search that I was doing, which was just for the demo slide syntax that was on the front page. I mean, I did a a basic search, and there was quite a few that were out there in addition to what I just showed. But I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I actually had some action points, as far as getting the shelf from when I presented this after ShmooCon. So this list has gotten a lot shorter. So one of the things that I'm kind of wanting to do is maybe add some visuals to the back door, make it a little more, helpful, so you're not having to just type in the URL, make it look a little more sexy. And then also, obfuscation of clearing the logs, so that when you're, logging in, obviously the shell, you've got to do your own stuff as far as clearing the logs, but maybe I could put something in the back door that takes care of that. It does, we were playing around with it last night, and it doesn't do system logging, but it will, I mean, in the traditional sense, but it does have certain things that you can pick up. Like the web server will log your IP address. So once you hit the person's site, you're logged. So you would have to go in and clean that out if you were doing it, a pen test and stuff like that, which I don't know why this would be on a corporate network at all. But, yeah, so, yeah, I can actually, that was actually kind of interesting. Let me show that, too. Since we got time, and hopefully you guys aren't bored. I don't really honestly know. It's Debian. Yeah, I mean, so, it's an ARM version of Debian. I did talk to some guys at one LinuxCon here in, I think it was Charlotte, and they were saying that a lot of times they kind of take Debian and then kind of roll their own for these things, because they're like I said, I only had like 3 meg of stuff left over, so they're trying to crush this down really, really small. So yeah, but Netcat ARM works, and then, which didn't work for my demo, but it worked for us to get to the point where we needed to show this. Anyways, but there's all kinds of regular stuff. It's got PHP, it's got Perl, so you can write your own code. Yes, I did think about that, because I was like, this is kind of like a Pineapple or a Pony Express kind of deal, where exactly, yeah. And it serves media and movies, and why wouldn't you want that on your network? You can't get everything on YouTube these days. So, yeah, but yeah, I definitely did think about that. I'm kind of like wanting to grab another. I got a newer one of this, but I haven't figured out a hack for that one yet. So I am gonna play around with that. I just grabbed that off because this thing, the more I used it, things started breaking. Like Samba doesn't really work anymore. As I started filling things up, and Apple file sharing, which it had, doesn't work anymore. So really the only way to get stuff on this and off of it is the web server. So once that craps out, I'm gonna have to go get another one. But so yeah, I definitely did kind of think of that, and it was. Yeah, they do have an update for this. I just didn't want to update it and then not be able to revert the firmware back. So, perfectly honest, I was actually hoping that the one that I bought would have been closer to this one, but then I realized I was stupid and bought the wrong one on Amazon. So I need to go back and actually buy this version and see if when I update it, it totally fixes the problem. But I didn't want to do that and lose all this research, and not be able to get back, because there's not many of them out there. When I searched last time, there was only like 2 used. So people are probably buying the more. This one was 1 terabyte. The newer ones are like 2 and 3 terabytes now. So you can pretty much get them for the same price. Yeah. I have not, because so basically like do a DD of this and then do it in the emulator. Right, yeah, that would actually be a smart thing to do. I did take it apart, it's over there. It's kind of falling apart now, because I don't know where the screws went. Obviously, traveling to different places, the screws are disappearing. But yeah, I did take it apart and plugged it into my desktop and actually looked at the file system. It looks like they've actually got a piece of flash device on there separate from the hard drive, and I haven't quite figured out their mounting, protocol. What's that? I think so, yeah. Yeah, because yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll just take your word for that. So, but yeah. Oh yeah, I was gonna show logs of the web server, because that's kind of interesting. It's a directory. access log. You should see my IP address here. Should have tailed that. I have a bad habit of not tailing things. I do cat a lot. I like all the things, which is why I cat. What? Yes, and cats. Did somebody think of that before they called it cat? I don't know. So anyways, yeah, so this shows, I was using Firefox. If config, there's my IP address on wireless, and oh, hey, there it is. So in theory, if you were to get on someone's device over the internet, as soon as you hit it, it's going to log this in. So you need something that's going to, get rid of these logs. And of course, you wouldn't want to just wipe them out. You'd want to delete the last few. So that's kind of what I was thinking about doing with the backdoor. Like every time you hit the server, wipe out the last, iterations of the logs. So you could just, kind of do a grep for the IP address that you have, and then remove that from the log. So. Yeah, I know. I'm just a paranoid person, So, and I'm doing this for fun. So I play the paranoid game, which is why I have all kinds of fun stuff in my apartment, and why I, did this. So. Anybody else have anything they want to see or questions? Yeah. So I'm using the free version. I haven't gotten work to pay for the full version yet. So I do have a trial version, but I've been so busy that I haven't fully used it and played around with it. But yeah. Webcode is amazing. I think that's a great option. I also, if you're interested in this, I would recommend Enigma groups. That's what I recommend a lot of our new people that come in to do. The cool thing about that is you sign up for it, and they have about 10 mentors per challenge, and it walks you through from basic, JavaScript, SQL injection, all that stuff. And if you get stuck, and I've pinged some of the mentors on there, they don't give you the answer. They're like, here are 10 websites that will explain how to do this. Go do that, read that. If you don't understand something, PM me again, and we'll walk through it and help you out. It's Enigma Groups, or enigmagroup.org. Enigma, like the Enigma machine, Enigma cipher machine. Yeah, so that's what I recommend for anybody in Fortinet security that says they're interested in, web penetration testing. It's a good starting place. Granted, you have to, do the challenges exactly the way they're thinking, but there's not a lot of room for error for a lot of this stuff. And you can get creative. There are several different ways to get to the same challenge and stuff like that. But, they've got things that you can throw Burp at, and you're not going to get in trouble. That's, all legal. They're putting it up there for you guys to do. So, another one is Hack in the Box. I don't know Hack This Box. I don't use that much, but I have a lot of people that like that one as well. Fortinet Security Vision, do you guys have any things that you guys use, recommendations for web? Dan Boone, yep. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I meant to cover that. So just for the recording and people in the back that didn't hear, he was recommending using SQL map. And then I'm assuming you're saying proxy it through Burp so you can see what's going on? Yeah. Right. So you could basically what he's recommending is you use SQL map and proxy it through Burp. So Burp can also do other tools as well, not just browsers and things like that. And then what you can do is to learn, you can modify the replay packets and understand exactly what the SQL injection is doing, modify it, in variance for the actual app, and poke it in that way and see what the responses are coming back. One thing that I also do with, in addition to the, let me kind of go back to the slide where I was talking about where we're doing the brute forcing. Yeah, here we go. So one other use case for the intruder is to take regex and put that in a list, in a Word file, and or just write it into the actual application, and then send that to the actual place that you're trying to break into, and see what it comes back with. Same way as SQL map, you can do the same thing with SQL injections. You could put some SQL injections in your word list and see which ones come back. So instead of actually manually doing each individual one, you can throw a ton of them in there and see which ones work, and then even if you don't get a full success, you could see, okay, this one had this response, this one had that response, so maybe I should modify these, and you could go in Notepad++ or Vim and append a whole bunch of stuff there, so you can step down the line. And this is just a good way to reiterate through them without doing all the work, pretty much. Any other questions? I know I finished way early, so it's just, but I wanted this discussion. Yeah. Oh, GitHub. Yeah, it's JoshinGeneral. I'm pretty much JoshinGeneral everywhere. So. Yeah, and I have some modifications to the code. I already have the stuff from when I presented at Shmoo, or ShmooCon Epilogue. I don't want to say that I actually presented at Shmoo. I want it to be, it was Nova Hackers, so it was the after party, pretty much. But I have stuff already up there, and I will be putting the stuff that we figured out last night, as well as a package of the other bash files that you need to upload on the GitHub, as well as the slides will come out on Twitter. I guess I could throw them up on GitHub too. Wouldn't be a bad idea. I prefer doing the Google presentation, because if I make a modification, then it propagates everywhere, and I don't have to re-upload stuff. So, yeah. Gotcha. Anything else? Cool. Thank you.